The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Welcome, everybody. Keefer, Tony Kurre. That means it's Keefer and Kurre Sports.
Yeah, baby.
Another outstanding all-star edition. We're going to talk a couple of different things today. I want to talk about college football, which is what I always seem to want to talk about. Tony is actually going to stroll off the reservation a little bit today. He wants to bring up a recent trip he made over to Atlanta and some experiences he had with the World Cup, which is
We're both talking football. We're both talking football today, so that's good. We're talking. Yeah. Listen,
football and football, whatever.
I don't want to get people crazy here because I don't want people to think I'm starting to like soccer. My son, who I love going to see games with, is an event guy. He loves events, and he's like, just to say that I went to a FIFA game is big for him. And he said, this may be your only shot because the next time it comes to America is like another 18 or 19 years. I'll probably be dead. And I said, fair enough. I get that. So I told him a year ago that I'd take him. He's like, you promise you take him? I said, yes. Not knowing that the average ticket price for a group game is $1,249. That's not the price to get in is like $80 to $3,000. So it doesn't matter what the actual price for a ticket is because you can't get them. They're not available. They're gone. They're finished. But the average price is $1,249 for a group game. Somehow I called a friend of mine who works the Peach Bowl over there and also does some SEC stuff, and said, man, I need 2 tickets just to get in. And we sat on the top row of the Mercedes-Benz, on the absolute top row, as far as up you go. And we had a great time. So, but I want to talk about some of the things that I took away from my particular day.
I want to hear about it because I am that guy. I have admitted on our programs, I am the consummate ugly American. So I'm a good guy for you.
And I totally get it. I've been anti-soccer my entire life, but there is something to be said about what Lionel Messi is doing right now. And I am a sports fan. I want to ask you, and I'm going to tell you right now so you can actually think about it while you're talking college football. I want you to give me the best player, only one. You can only give me one in the NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, NBA, and then soccer if you want. And I got a reason why I'm asking you these questions. But first, we got to talk some college football because there's a lot going on college football.
I want to talk college football because I want to. This is a shameless plug because the author of a new book has become kind of a friend of mine. He was already, while he was completing that book, a caller to our radio programs on WJOX. He started calling us last year. His name is Mike Chaudron. He's a banking executive and an investment person by trade, but he got involved kind of through some interesting channels in college football at some point. And his book is called Agent Confidential, Tony. It's on sale now. I got the audio version. He actually sent me a complimentary copy. So I binge listened all weekend. I couldn't put it down. It was just fantastic. Awesome. And Mike reveals a lot of us, and I'll get your reaction to this, we talk about it all the time. We attribute all of this wild, wild west and complete lawlessness and craziness and chaos and upheaval and mayhem to NIL and transfer portal things. But Mike in the book, and I'm going to have an interview with him today for the starting lineup this week. Mike in his book says, this is just the latest development. This has been going on for a long time. College football has been able to continue to keep the appearance of being a sport that's different than all the others because it's based on tradition and pageantry and loyalty and emotion. And he says, Mike's book points out very pointedly and gives you great examples that the business of college football has been up and running for a long, long time. And the NIL and transfer portal was just an inevitable next step in the process. This is not the cause of the upheaval. The upheaval has been in place for decades, and we just haven't recognized it.
Well, we go back to Jelks. We can go back to Hubcap Gate. We can go back as far as you want. There have been money shakes, handshakes been going on ever since I moved here in 1988 and well before that. Certainly, we went through a phase where, we had kids that were living in dorms on campuses. Is a reason why they did away with that. You had coaches who could give away as many scholarships as they wanted before they changed that. There's all these different things the NCAA has tried to keep in control, and obviously has lost every bit of that, and now trying to retain some of it back, trying to grow their fangs back a little bit. But yeah, the money's just always been there. And I'll go back. I mean, just think about how much time we spent on the money bag, the Auburn money bag.
Yeah. And he talks about that in the book.
We went an entire year on Cam Newton about, I'm going to disclose the money man. Who's the money man? He got so much, Paul got so much mileage out of that because people were calling his show every single day saying, I know the man who's got the money bag.
Yeah, Danny Sheridan, a prominent
Danny said, I know the money man. I know the money man. By the way, we never found out who the money man was. I mean, look at that now. I mean, everybody is the money man. I mean, that was such a huge development in college football. We talked about that. I mean, I was so sick of talking about the money man. I was working with Al Greco. He almost
bag
quit.
Man.
Yeah, the bag man. He almost quit several times. Al is like, I can't do it anymore. I can't hear about the bag man anymore. I mean, just let's move on.
Well, and here's the real irony, Tony. Danny Sheridan privately shared with people that the bag man was my boss at the time, Milton McGregor, who is a big Auburn booster, was from Montgomery, was very prominent with his racetracks and his casino development, which sadly for Milton came after his passing here, because I wish he could see right now what's going on. That's what he tried to build for a number of years and ran into every wall possible. But here's a great follow-up. After the word got out that the bag man was Milton McGregor, supposedly rigging machines so certain people could win. That got Larry Langford, our former mayor, in trouble too.
Yeah.
But Milton, who was, as a guy that I worked for and was very close to, and I miss him every single day. What a great man who did more for people than anybody could possibly know.
No doubt.
Milton McGregor, the opening game after Cam Newton had come to Auburn, if you remember the Cam Newton saga, he was originally with the Florida Gators. He was a freshman phenom, 5-star prospect, but he was accused of breaking into another student's dorm room and stealing their laptop.
Yeah, throw it out the window, right?
Yeah, it's a different era now that we live in, where that kind of hijinks takes place over the theft of a piece of equipment. Now these guys can buy stock in the whole computer company.
It's crazy.
But at that time, he was thrown out of Florida, and there was a big bidding war to get to. There was no concern about his character. They just knew what a great football player he potentially was. Anyway, his debut at Auburn, Louis Benefield, Milton McGregor's son-in-law, and still the CEO of their company now in Milton's passing. Louis tells the story of about halfway through the first quarter, Milton, the alleged bag man, comes over to Louis and says, "Hey, Louis, who is this number 2 fella out there? He is amazing." Milton McGregor had no idea. The bag man had no idea who Cam Newton was, and supposedly was the guy who engineered the whole deal. So that tells
that's
you
awesome. What a
now
great story.
You know
what
the
a great
real story.
Yeah, things have changed just quite a bit since the Cam Newton days, for sure. Well, tell more about what's inside this book, because
I want to tie it into something that's happening right now topically, because a lot of people, including our broadcast partner, Legend, completely went off the deep end when Kalen DeBoer suddenly in January or February of this year, despite the fact that in his first 2 seasons has lost 8 games and coming off 2 games at the end of Alabama's season last year, where they were blown away by Georgia in the SEC championship game, and then Tony, 38-3
hammered
against Oregon I mean, not Oregon, against Indiana. Eventual champion. Sorry, I'm like a stockbroker these days.
That's okay.
I've got all kinds of action. Anyway, so off those two things, all of a sudden the headline breaks the 1st of February. Kalen DeBoer given an extension and given 5 additional years, $2 million more a year, and his buyout has been increased to $70,000. If he fails, we're going to give him, tens of millions of dollars just to go away.
$70 million. $70 million. Yeah. You said 70 million.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway, the bottom line is Kalen DeBoer, in a local television interview in Tuscaloosa on Tuesday, was asked by a reporter how close he came to considering the Michigan job, which, as people will recall, opened up unexpectedly when their coach, Sharon Moore, had a complete personal meltdown and was already involved in an affair with a staffer from his office, a married guy with a family, but he apparently went to the staffer's house and threatened to kill himself. He had a knife to his own throat if she didn't, start seeing him again or something. Anyway, that scandal, of course, led to his sudden ouster at Michigan. And the reporter asked, how close did you come in your talks with Michigan? Kalen DeBoer said in that interview on Monday of this week, I guess it was even on Friday. It only broke Monday. I never had any discussions with Michigan whatsoever. This extension, this new deal with Alabama had nothing to do with that. They believe in the direction we're going, and they believe in what we're accomplishing. And that was a vote to do more of the same. And that's created some pretty big ripples. And it's interesting. The timing for me was great because I had just read the chapter about what these extensions really mean in the business of college football, that a lot of times when coaches are extended, that really is the activation of the timer that, hey, you got to start getting it done. One of the great things Mike points out in this book, and his last name is Chaudron, Chaudron. If anybody wants to order his book, it's available on every place that the books are sold. And I particularly enjoyed his read. He actually reads his audio copy.
Oh, good.
But anyway, Mike points out that this whole business of college football with these extensions and everything else are not to create confidence and stability. It is to start the clock on, you got to start getting it done, or it's just a calculation and a business model to create urgency. He says stability doesn't sell. What sells to college football fans, college football sponsors, big TV networks is urgency. It's action. It is stimulating discussion and interest. And this extension did exactly that. But it kind of puts DeBoer in a secure position, and that's the other difference, Tony. You go back and you talked about some of the storylines that we've looked at it over the last 20 years, and when you were active with Al and Jay on your show for so many years, so many of these things that we thought were these crises were really just business as usual, because it creates interest, it creates storylines, and the calculations are made from a financial standpoint of what these programs could afford, because we've talked about how the lunacy of these buyouts, but the buyouts are just a business calculation at the end of the day. That you don't want to make constant changes.
So explain, to back up a little bit, explain to me why an extension is the clock ticking. I don't quite understand why giving an extension and offering even more, if you will, stability in what they would obviously be getting in some type of settlement if they were going to buy him out, which you just mentioned, $70 million. Why would giving him an extension let him know the clock is ticking? Explain it to the audience.
Well, again, it's the way he explains it in the book, and I've just listened to it one time. I'm going to interview him today, and I was going to ask that very question as a follow-up. But basically, my understanding is it just creates urgency of, okay, here's the new deal we're giving the coach. The public reacts and says, what's going on here? We used to call this back in the day a vote of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And what did a vote of confidence usually
You're getting fired,
to, Tony?
You're getting fired.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is the modern day version of the vote of confidence. It tells the fan base, okay, we're on the right path. You got to stick with us, because he argues in the book that timing now is everything. He says all this era is, compared to what used to be, is that this is a constant, fast-moving, hyper-speed, major machine, this college football business. And creating urgency, creating attention, creating discussion is the fuel for it, not stability, not all the things that you used to think they would make these moves. This is really to kind of set the alarm for the coach that, okay, we're going to extend you, but you better deliver here. Because
I would think the Jimmy Sextons of the world are loving that extension. I mean, that's just putting more money in their pocket, because basically what you're telling me is they're making the coach's seat hotter by giving him even more money that perhaps is not really deserved.
Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And the Jimmy Sextons
I wish they were like that in radio. That would have been a lot of fun.
I had just read, when this story broke yesterday, I had just read in the book on the weekend, he said, you will hear coaches deny that they've had any discussions with that other school. He says, in most cases, they're telling the truth. They're not the ones discussing it. No. He says, anything that's happening in college football is usually already something predetermined by third, fourth, fifth parties that are just trying to create discussion, interest, controversy, chaos. All of those things that we think are the industry upside down is just business as usual now. It's really kind of compelling if you really kind of get into that, because if everything was just quiet and there was nothing going on here in the off season, schmucks like us would have nothing to talk about.
There's no doubt. To think that Michigan would be going after Kellen DeBoer is funny. Second of all, to think that Alabama would have to feel like they'd have to give him an extension to keep him. I've always made the analogy of the girl, man. If she don't want to be with me, knock yourself out. I don't want to be with someone who don't want to be with me. And if you don't want to go out anymore, or you want to go after somebody else, you're going to make me jealous. Knock yourself out and split. I'll find someone that's comfortable, wants to have some stability with me, regardless of whether we're dating or not. I've always wondered, I always thought that was so crazy that a coach could go ahead and even sniff another opportunity just to make more money. We've seen it over and over and over again. In a lot of cases, I would love it if a university would grow some nuts and finally say, you know what? Go for it. You get the right to go up to Michigan and have a conversation. When you knock it out, you let me know how that goes, because you're going to have to come back. You're going to be on our sidelines in about 100 days. We're going to see how the family of Alabama fans, and as well as I do, Rich Rodriguez and several other folks who were really close to taking jobs around here.
Oh, yeah.
Found out they don't want to be in this hurricane of Crimson Tide stuff, because it is 24 hours a day. You better have some really tough ass skin. And I mean, money can only buy you so much, but some people don't want to have to deal with that. I
didn't know till I read Mike's book, Rich Rodriguez's wife is the one who squashed that whole deal. Because they went to Tuscaloosa. She didn't like it, and she didn't like what she was hearing. She didn't want to live under that microscope of being, the most looked at people. And there's been speculation that DeBoer has suffered from a little bit of that his wife's uncomfortable with the criticism and all that. I mean, you don't factor in these guys have families and kids and
I said something on the show. I'm not taking responsibility for this. I'm not taking credit for it, but I probably would. You have to understand, I didn't play college football. I was kind of the wild guy in the middle. That's why I was a UAB fan. But I mentioned several times that I thought Rich Rodriguez's wife looked like a capucha monkey. And somehow it got back to her. We were obviously the number one sports show. We were on fire. Everyone knew who we were. And somehow word got back to her that some guy in Birmingham was comparing her to a capuchin monkey. I wasn't saying she was a capuchin monkey. I'm not saying she had some of the same characteristics. Her hair looked like a capuchin monkey. I actually pulled it up to make it look. And I actually posted a picture of her face next to a capuchin monkey. And someone told her about it. Evidently, she got upset. I'm not saying that was the straw that broke the camel, but right after Kirk Herbstreit announced on ESPN that Rich Rodriguez had taken the job, it went back down about 10 minutes later, and all of a sudden the monkey story came out, and we kind of had a good time with that. Because I'm thinking to myself, listen, first of all, happy wife, happy life, right? If she's the one that's ending that deal, and it worked out pretty well, I think, for the Crimson Tide, that Rich Rodriguez did not take that job. I think that worked out well just based on what we've seen him do in the rest of his career. Not to say anything about what he's done in his life. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer. I don't really care. And I think he's got a good pedigree. I think he's a nice guy. But if you can't handle that type of stuff, good luck. Don't move to New York because you're going to hear it every single day.
Well, I love the book, too, from the Alabama standpoint and Auburn. I mean, it's Alabama-centric, although Mike's from Tennessee. The author talks about how Moore, in absolute desperation, remember, he got on the plane to Miami and he said, I'm not coming back without Nick Saban. And when he went down, Tony, he didn't even meet with Nick Saban for the first 12 hours he was there. He spent that entire time with Miss Terry Saban. Yep. That's who he convinced. That's who he hired. And back to your thing, the wives in these tales tell a lot of the story. The other thing really compelling for in-state fans, the guy, and this was during your tenure on Jocks as well, the guy who really is the cause of all of this modern frenzy of trying to keep coaches and fire coaches and give coaches these ridiculous deals, that was crafted predominantly by the geniuses in the back room with the brandy snifters and cigars at our favorite school down on the plains, Auburn, when Gus Malzahn, seemingly taking Auburn in the right direction. The whispers were his home state, Arkansas, was getting a huge offer together to lure him away. And they gave Gus the first of these contracts that now are the norm with the big buyout and the extension, all of those things. And so it's amazing how so many of the pieces of the puzzle that Mike puts together in this book were based right here in Alabama.
I can't wait to read it. I can't wait to hear it. That sounds like a great book. What's it called again?
Agent Confidential.
Okay. Be looking for
by Mike Chaldron, and it's a great book, and I recommend it to everybody. And tune in the starting lineup this week. We're going to have him on. I'm going to actually interview him today about the book and get his thoughts. But I feel like, as much as I've speculated, and one final thing, and we'll get to soccer, but I've always said, and he doesn't talk about this in the book, but I'm going to ask him about it today. I think the end of the innocence, to steal Don Henley's tune, of college football and being the pure pageantry-based, rivalry-based, great traditional sport. I think the end of the innocence was in a Supreme Court decision in 1984 when the University of Georgia and Oklahoma joined in a lawsuit against the NCAA to take back television rights, because the NCAA controlled all television rights for college football up until 1984. That was the opening of Pandora's box. And that's why we have the big business of college football today, because as soon as TV networks became the giant elephant in the room, and they just had a meeting on the 2014 playoff the other day, and guess what? 5 different television executives were in that meeting. So these guys are, stirrers of the pot. But everything we're seeing, I think, emanates from that 1984 Supreme Court decision, where they gave college football and the universities that actually were playing college football control on TV, because TV is the extra secret sauce that makes all this go.
That is a great, and to analogize it, that was the rock that created the spider crack on the windshield. And the rest is history. So. I just wanted to mention a couple things about soccer real quick.
Yeah, sure.
And just as I was writing a list of things I've learned through soccer over the last couple of days, because I went over there. I actually had a meeting.
And what game did you actually see?
South Africa and the Czechs were playing. It was a 1-1 game. And I got to give Atlanta credit. It was the most unbelievable day with 180,000 people in Atlanta, 80,000 people at the game. The way that Atlanta had it going on, man, there were people on horses. There were security. There were people walking around with signs saying, "Ask me anything." You could ask, like, how does the MARTA work? Where's my car parked?
Wow.
Tell me. There were people all over. There were all kinds of places where you get sunscreen. And if you needed a tampon, you could find that. And there were police officers and horses and security. And I got in and got out in 5 minutes. I was back on the MARTA train. I was back in my car 15 minutes after the game was over. It was unbelievable. I mean, kudos. They've obviously run an Olympics. They know what they're doing over there in Atlanta, but it was fantastic. I mean, it was just fantastic. I just really, really enjoyed it. And that makes it fun for a 60-year-old guy.
Well, that's great to hear that my hometown's got their act together.
They really did. A couple things I learned. First of all, the USA is playing. You know they're playing today?
I know they play. I wasn't sure if it was today or tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I think it may be tomorrow. Turkey. Do you know who Turkey? Who? And I was like, who the hell is Turkey? What the hell is Turkey? Something I learned. Turkey is no longer Turkey.
Yes, yeah, changed the name to Turkey.
And I said, when the hell they changed their name to Turkey? And Santa said, that was like 4 years ago. And I said, what? He said,
they should have done it 40 or 50 years ago.
Yeah, he said the people that are running the country didn't want to be compared to the domestic bird, because they felt like it just made us look like fools. And we had a country named after a turkey, and they decided they wanted to change their name. And so they went to whoever it is, they go the international force of blah, 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 and said, we want to change our names to Turkie with the thing that's swerve on the top, but it's gone now called Turkey. So people are like, well, who the hell is, like Cape Verde was one thing, but Turkey. So now Turkey, remember, Turkey is no longer a country, it's Turkey. I didn't know. I had no clue. That should tell you how important Turkey is in my life. I had no clue.
It was one of those things when I saw they were in the tournament. It's some of that useless information. I read that about 5 years ago that they were going to finally, and I remember that moment. I didn't really grasp it, but I remember saying, well, it's about time, because who wants me to have a country called Turkey?
I know, right? Regardless of whether you're inside or out, everyone's getting these hydration breaks. It was really, really funny, because the loudest boos I've ever heard in my life was when they got hydration breaks over there at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, because FIFA now has hydration breaks, because the average temperature is somewhere like 92, 93 degrees. They're afraid these guys are going to overheat. And obviously we're in the middle of the hottest summer in the world. The final is going to be July 10th, I think it is. It's going to be in New Jersey at 3:00 in the afternoon.
Let me guess, they probably do that in correlation with television breaks.
Well, it is, and it's also sponsored by Powerade, which is the
that is shocking.
It's a Powerade hydration break. I kid you not. So I get over there, and I noticed that I can't see their Mercedes-Benz emblem on the top of the dome. And then when I get inside, I notice there's gray tape over the top of each and every pay station. I said, what's up with the tape and everything? FIFA has a deal where if you are not in the FIFA umbrella or family of sponsors, no matter where they play the games, those places can't promote anything that's not sponsored by FIFA. For example, if they don't have Mercedes-Benz in their line under their umbrella of sponsorships, core sponsorships for FIFA, they will tell you to put a giant sheet and cover up your entire stadium, because you are not. So on the top of each of the pay stations, it was MasterCard. Well, FIFA sponsored by Visa. So they made them go around to the 10,500 pay stations and put tape over top of each and every. There was tape all over the place where Coca-Cola couldn't be shown. It was crazy. I was like,
how janky.
I mean, you want to talk about corrupt. When we're talking about the SEC and Big Ten and what they're trying to do with this college football thing, FIFA is one of the most corrupt organizations in the face of the earth. If you go to AI and say, is FIFA corrupt, which could be considered a subjective question, correct? It says absolutely yes. It is all over it. FIFA is corrupt from broadcasting rights to World Cup bidding. They've done money laundering. They've done everything else. When you talk about ticket prices, it's unbelievable. They don't care about the Live Nation crap. What are they like? Come after us. They're their own thing. They own everything they do. And so it doesn't matter. So if you don't want to pay, you don't want to play. You go through the FIFA store. There's a FIFA store inside where they're playing over there. Jerseys are $108. I got a t-shirt that was $68. I had to pay it because it's the FIFA prices, but I wanted to make sure I had a t-shirt. My son got one as well, so that set me back a little bit. But I thought the hydration thing was hilarious. I thought that was kind of funny. Wanted to know how many miles the average soccer player runs during a 90-minute match. Do you want to take a squat at that?
I'm going to guess anywhere from 3 to 5 miles.
It is 9 miles.
9 miles.
And I just want you to think about that for a minute, because I was sitting there talking about, this guy next to me was like, why didn't he just, shoot it from there? And I said, listen, this guy's been running for 83 minutes up and down this pitch. They call it the pitch, up and down the field. And he's been doing this for like an hour and a half. And you're sitting there saying, do a bicycle kick. I'm like, this guy, and between that, like water polo, I mean, I would drown within 5 minutes of being in water polo. If I can't touch the bottom of a pool, I'm not playing water polo. I don't see how they do it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
That is an athletic feat.
Lionel Messi set a record for the most goals ever in World Cup play. He has won 6 golden boots, which is the equivalent of an MVP for the World Cup. Usually has something to do with whoever scores the most goals. And he was 16-1 to win the Golden Boot for this 2026 FIFA World Cup. He is now 2-1 to win the Golden Boot because he got 2. And so they were throwing out the question, does Lionel Messi need this little Golden Boot to solidify his legendary status? And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? So I thought to myself, what other sport is there absolutely no doubt who the best player is? So I wanted you to go quickly through NFL, Major League Baseball, NHL, NBA, and soccer, because it's Lionel Messi and everyone else. It's not even close. You could say Ronaldo, it's not even close. It's not even close. When you look at their 2 careers next to each other, by the way, Lionel Messi turns 39 tomorrow and is still getting after it. Scored 2 more goals yesterday. I'm just, from a sports standpoint, I can't believe I'm actually getting excited about soccer. But I just think it's amazing because it reminds me a little bit of what Tom Brady did in the National Football League. Guys at 39 aren't supposed to be competing with 17-year-olds on pitch fields, on football fields. And so there's only one guy. He used to be Pele. Remember, growing up in high school was always Pele. Everyone talked about Pele. Pele was the greatest player of all time. Pele. Lionel Messi's the greatest player of all time. Who's the greatest player in the NHL? Go.
Connor McDavid with the Edmonton Oilers by far.
Okay, so it's not Wayne Gretzky, because most people would say Wayne Gretzky.
Oh, you're talking about all time.
I'm talking all time. Yeah, all time.
I thought you meant current.
No, I'm talking all time.
Oh, I would say Gretzky probably, if we're talking all time. I misunderstood.
Yeah, okay. So
since Messi's still current.
Who is the all-time best Major League Baseball player?
All-time best Major League Baseball player. That one's a tough one. Let's go back to that one.
Okay. NFL. Do you have a greatest player in NFL?
Yeah, I would say probably just by who you just mentioned, I would have to say Tom Brady.
I think I'd have to agree with you. And do you have a best in the NBA?
I'm a Jordan guy. I mean, I think LeBron's been amazing, but Michael Jordan's the greatest player in basketball history.
My point is you can make a debate in pretty much every sport you can. Perhaps Major League Baseball, I would say Pete Rose is there. Babe Ruth, I think, is unbelievable because, I mean, he actually hit any pitch.
Yeah, I would mostly say Pete, but what Babe Ruth did to change the game is, I think you've got the top 2 there.
Yeah, and then, but I mean, to sit there and look at Lionel Messi and what he's done for the sport is really.
It's unbelievable.
We're seeing something. We're going to talk about this, depending on where soccer goes in this country. And I know it's It's trying to grow. People are trying to grow it. I guess it's as big as it's probably ever going to get now because FIFA is doing extremely well on this World Cup thing. But I will say this: it's pretty amazing that right now we're living in a time where we're actually seeing the best of the best still alive and still playing. I mean, Jordan just quit 10 years ago. We've had Tom Brady hanging up 2 years ago. We got Lionel Messi still playing, which is pretty incredible. So I just wanted to get to that. A couple of things I thought about real quick that I thought was really, really interesting. We are so anal about clocks in our sports.
In our lives.
The last 6 seconds of an NBA game can take 23 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Because we're putting more time on. We're adding tenths of seconds. We're adding hundreds of seconds. We do it with every sport. We are so anal when it comes to time. Put another second back on the clock so I can miss this field goal. I could go back for 106 yards. We are so anal about time. To watch soccer where time is oblivious. No one knows what time it is. No one cares how long it takes for you to kick the ball in. It could be the 39th minute or it could be the last minute of a game, and the guy can just put the ball down and act like he's like picking his nose or whatever. There's no one to sit there and say, hey, you need to kick the ball quicker because we're running out of time. No one has any clue. And the funniest thing is at the end of 90 minutes, this dude walks out with this sign that says 8 on it. And I'm like, and somewhere someone says, we're adding 8 minutes. We're adding 8 minutes to the game, and no one keeps clock of that. There's no clock. There was no clock. There was no clock anywhere outside on the scoreboard, with the exception of the scoreboard. There was one clock.
See, and I hate that about the soccer.
That runs. It runs.
There's only one guy in the whole stadium that knows how much time's left, and I think that he just makes it up, the referee.
He does. At one point, a dude went down for 12 minutes, and the clock didn't stop. It went from 68 to 80, and we're sitting there going, okay, so they had, so someone was over there going, hey, I think it's about 11 minutes. So we're going to add 11 minutes plus probably 6 or 7 minutes. I don't know. We had a couple of yellow cards. We're going to add 17 minutes. And then they do another 17 minutes and then another 17. So at the end of the game, when you got a 1-1 tie, you have no clue how much time's left. And as an American who we are so based on time.
If I liked the game, that would create anxiety for me because I would be going, there's got to be just seconds left. Do something,
It is so hilarious because everyone's just looking around going, it's got to be getting close. Some guy's got a stopwatch on. He's like, I got my stopwatch on. And he's like, well, it's already past 9 minutes. They're only supposed to do 9 minutes of extra time.
Yeah,
and I'm at 11 minutes.
It's not even an actual number. It's just a bit. I do not. I've always criticized that about soccer. I can tell you, just watching the Stanley Cup playoffs, in the final minute when the clock's ticking down and the other team has the extra attacker on, trying to get the equalizing goal, I'm watching the clock as much as I'm watching the action on the ice. I mean, I'm going 24, 20, shoot, pass, do something. Now we got no chance. I mean,
I come to find out from a South African fan who was sitting next to me that during extra time, if a team has the ball, and it's a tie ball game or they're down by 1 and they have an opportunity to score, because we always talk about the opportunities in soccer.
Yes.
And it's overtime, they won't call the clock. The only time they'll call a clock is when the ball goes out of bounds or it's offsides. And
so if you can maintain possession, it doesn't matter that the time's run out.
It's somewhat of a stoppage of play.
I never knew that.
Then they'll blow the whistle. Watch, because they'll never blow the whistle if someone's in control of the ball and they're going down the field. They will never blow the whistle. They will never end a play, which again, it's just so funny to me that we have clocks for pitches now. We have clocks for, we're adding tenths of seconds. It's unbelievable. And in soccer, did the ball go out? I don't know if the ball went out. I mean, the ball goes out. It goes out a little bit. Another guy kicks it back in. I mean, it's just so aloof how wide open they are with things. Fouls are another thing that is an absolute joke. I saw guys.
I mean, the dives and the
oh my gosh,
the rolling around on the ground like you're mortally wounded. These are things that I don't like about the game.
I just thought it was really interesting. I want to throw a couple things out there. And I know you know this. It's not what you're watching, it's who you're watching it with. And I was with my boy, and I wanted him to go see a FIFA game. And he said, Dad, I guess I know that wasn't your favorite thing to do, but I really appreciate it. I said, no, I said, I really enjoyed it. I'm glad to say that I actually went and saw a FIFA game. I mean,
it's a major event. I mean, I wouldn't go to a professional soccer game, the Seattle Sounders against the Toronto Thunder or whatever the hell it is, if you paid me to do it. But if somebody would have offered me a ticket to a World Cup game, I would have considered going just because of the magnitude of the event. It
reminded me a lot too. I've been blessed enough, thanks to Coca-Cola, to go to 4 different Olympics.
Yes.
It reminded me a lot of the Olympics. I mean, you had 70,000 people over there. 60,000 probably were rooting for one side or the other. And then you had just a bunch of people that just wanted to be part of the party. And that's what makes it so fun, because you just have a melting pot of everything from a 3-month-old to a 93-year-old in a wheelchair, and everyone's thrown into the stadium together. We're there to watch a sport. No one's talking about the Iranian war. No one gives a squat about transvestites, and people don't care about immigration laws.
The Iranians are playing in a tournament. I mean,
I know.
The whole thing is so bizarre.
We're all, and to watch Iranians, by the way, to watch Iranians watching their team is fine. It's funny too, because they don't know who to root for. They're like, they want to root for their own country, but they're not happy what's going on. So they kind of boo when they score. And then when they actually have a chance to win, they get excited again. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Anyway, I just wanted to share a couple things in case somebody was into the hockey or the soccer thing. I thought it was interesting. So I learned some things. So, as far as we're doing that, but I promise I wanted to get that out of the way today, because I am not.
I got to make one public announcement. Please. I hope Americans are paying attention to the reaction of all these visitors from around the world saying,
Amen.
Gosh, America's not what I've been told it is. America's awesome. They're loving things like Buc-ee's and Waffle House, and they're just going, this is the greatest place ever. And I think Americans need to pay attention to that reaction from the international crowd, because we're a bunch of malcontent, complaining, whining babies here.
Amen.
We live in the greatest circumstance in the world. And to hear so much of the population, we live in this living hellhole, which is, shame on those people. Look at the reaction from our international visitors. It has been almost 100%. Wow, this is the greatest place I've ever been.
Someone said it best next to me. They said it's like living in a giant amusement park. I said, yeah, that's a great analogy. I said, the guy, because I've never been to America, didn't know what to expect. He said, I'm having a great time. He said, I'm staying in a nice area. He said, but I feel like it's just a giant amusement park. Because I realize Atlanta's putting on a good show for everyone that's coming around. He goes, we're actually going to go travel. I invite him to come to Birmingham and do some things over there. But yeah, it is. It's like a giant amusement park. It's like you walk in, you feel like you're at Six Flags and you live here. It's pretty wild. All right. Big show going on this weekend here. The Birmingham Racecourse and Casino, the starting lineup. It's going to be getting after it again. We're getting closer and closer to college football. I'm sure the legend will have some more things to say about Kalen DeBoer in his interview. We're going to have Kip Perspective, Bone Fragments, and more. So check us out, ABC 3340. Then, of course, you have your show on Jocks. I want to make sure you mention that as well.
Yeah, Game Time, 8 to 10 on Saturday mornings. It has become just a juggernaut.
Killer.
We've got so many great guests coming on. We got people calling from all over the country. Mike Chaudron, who I mentioned, the author of Agent Confidential, has become a regular on our show, which is great. But yeah, the show is doing fantastic. And then starting in August, Tony, we bring back our Sunday morning show on Jocks as well. The morning after, this will be season 10 for the First Lady of the SEC, Terry Quillian, and I. We have been doing this dance for 10 years. Continuously, and it's a big anniversary for us. That's a long time for one program. You were on one of those long running programs here, and every year goes by, it gets more special because you build more audience. So can't wait till the morning after. We'll have all kinds of weekend information domination on the airwaves here in Birmingham.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.